are you? Good. Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Call 911.
Today we're going to be talking about the tragic story of Nautica Malone, as you can see in the video. He drove through a drive-thru, unclothed, aroused, with you-know-what in his hand. And it was the Bikini Beans drive-thru. Then he unalived himself 2 days later after that. So a lot of people are calling him a goonicide. That's the term they came up with it for him online. It's a crazy thing to be remembered by, especially knowing that he has, a wife and a daughter, and he had an HVAC business. And he ruined his life to try and get a nut. Like, it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, that's the craziest crash out, of 2025 so far. But I think the moral of the story here is that guys really got to, control their lust, their urges, and the adult content they're watching, because I think that was a direct correlation between adult content and his actions. There's no other way I can see why a guy would, do something like that outside of, mental illness. Yeah, he's cooked. Like, his memory, his family he left for his daughter and his wife is that, like, he was a gooner. And if you don't know what goon means, look that term up. But that's what everybody's calling him. That's all the kids are saying. He committed goonicide. He's a gooner. The last goon. It's all kind of funny, but at the same time, it's all messed up because this guy obviously had problems. But and he was a repeat offender. Apparently, that's why she pulled the camera out, because apparently he came and did this like quite often at the Bikini Beans Coffee. Which, if you don't know what Bikini Beans Coffee is, it says it in the name. But it's crazy. He was a repeat offender, so eventually they record him, and then they post a video online. It gets millions of views. Everybody finds out about, okay, where his job, his mom, his wife, his mom, all that. They start sending him this video, and it just ruins his life. And he lost everything anyway, but he did end up taking his life. Couldn't face the consequences, I guess. But yeah, it's tragic though. I think it's a lesson for men, because I see this like type of behavior happen a lot more as time goes on, than when I was younger. I think it's partly due to the pushing and like access to adult content. Like, guys it's a pipeline really. They're going down this dark path. They need the dirtier kick to get them off each time. It's like, no, he needs a dirtier kick and a dirtier kick. So he starts off watching just, one guy, one girl, regular stuff. Then it's like, 3 guys, 1 girl, or 3 girls, 1 guy. Then it's like a bunch of guys and 1 girl in a room. Then he goes on to like, tying people up. It's craziness. And then eventually it's like you get a Nautica Malone situation where he wants to act out his fantasies that he's seen in these videos in real life. And that's what he ends up doing. It ends up ruining his life. Like, I see situations like this a lot more, like nowadays, as like OF and the hub has been pushed and continues to rise in power, and not only push like in popularity. I really think that like Instagram, Meta, they push gooner content, like, and it's like, in my own life and in my friends, we talk about it. It's like, yeah, like, just for no reason, there's always just chicks just popping up gooner content. A corn star is getting interviewed about how many 50 whatever, all that stuff. Like, it's like, why is this content getting so many views? Why is it being so pushed? Like, we're not even searching for this. I click disinterested. I'm like, my For You page is actually like really clean. I can screenshot it, show you right now. Most guys can't do that because their For You page is full of just cheeks, bro. It's cooked. And you're just like, damn, like, what is that doing to your brain? Because there's scientific studies behind this that show that, corn consumption, OF, adult content, decreases brain matter, gray matter in your brain. And it also decreases your access to your frontal lobe. So, just thinking about that, if you're constantly, consuming adult content, or gooning, as, the new term. Like, I used to think goon meant like, me and my goons are going to run up on you, something like that. But now it's like they turned goon into, basically doing that shit, which is crazy. And they call what Nautica Malone did a goonicide. But I mean, it truly did just ruin his life, and I see this a lot more, like just a lot more essays. I think this is just a result of guys abusing adult content and just not realizing that it's actually a dangerous thing. I think it's one of the most dangerous things because it's pushed as like it's cool. You should indulge in some gooning every once in a while or some adult content, but I don't think you should at all. But they're teaching that now, and it's like weird because like now like all the women are like corn positive, and back when I was younger, it was like the women were the ones like, oh, like that's weird, that's nasty. Now it's like they're the ones like, oh yeah, it's good to watch corn, it's good to goon. It's like what? That's how you know like it's switched up, and I think there was a reason for that. There's an agenda behind that. They want more Nautica Malones. They want more guys becoming creeps, weirdos, doing weird actions like that. The Bikini Beans drive-through incident. I mean, which is just crazy when you think about it. What sane man who doesn't have an adult content addiction is going to do something like that? It's just like the whole like logic behind it is like, so I'm going to go through a drive-through half unclothed, aroused with what in your hand. And it's just like, bro, like anybody else would clown you if you said that. Like we're clowning you for that. But in his head, he rationalized it because like his psyche, his subconscious was watching so many of these videos. I'm sure. Like I guarantee this guy had an adult content problem. And nowadays, especially like older people, I see that like they probably think it's just like whatever. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Whereas younger guys, I notice they're a little bit more tapped into like, okay, consuming all this adult content is probably not good. But these older guys, I see a lot of times it's them because I think they've had more years to where it's affecting their brain. Eventually, they start acting out on this, even while he had a wife and a kid. Like which is just the craziest part to me. It's the most tragic part. That the memory he left behind for his wife and kid was like a gooner. He's a gooner. He committed goonicide, which is just like that's what you left behind for your daughter. And his daughter's not going to be able to hear much about her dad until she gets older because the memory he left her and the wife, like they're not going to want to talk about him. They're not going to talk to his daughter about him. Like it's just sad. I mean, it's really a tragic situation. I think that I see this a lot, and I think it's directly correlated to overconsumption of adult content. And you usually think of like a young guy who he's a young weirdo in the basement, can't talk to girls, stuff like that, who's a goon addict, a corn addict, all that. But I've been seeing a lot of middle-aged guys, like in their early 30s, mid 30s, 40s, late 20s, do this weird stuff, and it's like, so it's not just young guys. I think it's like guys of all ages, and guys who don't really understand that there's consequences to this stuff. Regardless of what YouTube, what the internet says, the doctor says you should do it 28 times a month. Like that's just craziness. I mean, don't trust the pharmaceutical industry anyway, but for them to say that you should be watching adult content 28 times a month, I mean that's crazy. I don't even think you should watch your favorite TV show every day. I mean, you shouldn't watch TV every day, but I just think that's a crazy thing that they push that out there. I think if the dangers of this, OF content being pushed on guys at younger and younger ages isn't addressed, Meta, Twitter. I mean, Twitter is like insanely bad. It's basically just a corn app. If it's not addressed, I think we're going to see a lot more Nautica Malone situations and, a lot more guys' lives ruined. So, I mean, just stay vigilant. Try, like I said, I'm going to make more videos on NoFap and seed retention, but try to start, cutting down on your adult content use and get to a point where you're not consuming any of it at all, because I do think it's toxic. I mean, do your own research. Don't take my word for it, but I think we're going to see a lot more Nautica Malone situations, unfortunately, which, it's tragic, and hopefully we don't, but I think with the way we're going, the way Meta's pushing it, the way Twitter's pushing it, the way Musk is pushing adult content, that we're going to see a lot more of this, these corn positive people on both sides of the political spectrum. So It's getting weird. Just, keep your eyes open.